Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, finally, once again, with Tom or Tom. How's it going?
Tony, I feel like every year or two I need to go on at least a week long, maybe more than that, vacation, just so I can come back and have Tom Appreciation Day when it's like, oh, this is a lot of podcast. How do you? I don't want to do this. Better keep him around another year. I don't want to. We don't want to do these shows. So I did hear listening to the last episode of the morning show that you hosted on Thursday, talking about Ross Bjork and his press conference. And at the end, the palpable sense of relief in your voice as you said, I'm almost sure Tom will be back for the next episode of the morning show. So, Tony, I am in fact back. Welcome.
Thank you,
welcome
Tom.
back to me.
Welcome back to you. And yes, the only way to be appreciated around here is to go away and make other people do your work. And then suddenly, good to have you back, sir. So yes, welcome back. And we don't have a lot of time to spend on you, Tom, because we have a breaking news episode here as the Ohio State Buckeyes have gotten their first 2028 commitment from running back Elijah Newman-Hall, who, Tom, I'll just give you it because you were out. Whenever you show up to camp, and you know this, I don't need to tell you this, you ask people like, who do I need to look at today? And they'll tell you. And there are certain guys where all you know is the name, but then once you get over to the group, you're like, oh, that must be him. Mm-hmm. And that's Elijah Newman-Hall. I was told he looks like Quinshon Judkins. He's rocked up, as they say. And so you get over to the running backs and yeah, you could tell right away who he was. And so got to spend some time watching him and then afterwards talking with him. But Tom, first 2028 commitment so far. Did you know this, that the 2026 class is not even finished yet?
I have heard something about that. Yes. Yeah. 2028 is, that's the year that is that the year that Ohio State starts its series with Alabama or Georgia or something? That's coming up. That's coming up 2028, 29, something like that. I saw that they changed some of those schedules as well while I was out of town. So I have a lot to get caught up on, but yeah, just looking at some of the videos that you shot from camp, you can tell this, let's keep this in perspective. 2028 means he just finished his freshman year of high school. So if you're already getting comped to Quinshon Judkins physically, and you are just finishing your freshman year of high school and you have 3 more years of high school, unless you reclassify, but at least 2, probably 3 more years of high school to continue to grow and develop. He could potentially grow several more inches, but between now and the time he actually shows up at Ohio State for real. So yeah, this is, a long way to go toward till the pen meets paper on whatever they're using to do scholarship agreements at that point in college football history. I wouldn't want to speculate that far out, but this is something, if this is someone who stands out and is a freshman at one of these camps, usually it's, guys who are going into the junior year, guys going into senior year. It's like, yeah, you're more physically developed than a lot of the other guys. They usually have a number of very, very talented players in these camps. So if you're standing out as a freshman, that's a wow. And did he earn this offer at camp last week, or was this an offer that he had already?
He was offered about a month earlier, and he was like the first big time. Ohio State was the first big time offer for him, unless you want to count Wake Forest. And I'm not going to count Wake Forest in terms of a big time offer. So yeah, this is, and Carlos Loughlin, Ohio State's running back coach, I don't want to say reach. He will offer early. If he likes you, he's going to offer you early. And he's talked in the past about, he was the first guy to offer Turbo Rogers, who's going to be a freshman this year at Ohio State. So he doesn't, if he sees no reason to wait, why wait? And especially when the kids are out of state, you want to get in on them as early as possible. And so a really talented, I talked with him afterwards, like I said, and said, so like, what was your freshman year like? He's, well, I played defensive end. I started on varsity and I played defensive end. I had 15 sacks. And then I split carries at running back and I had about 850 yards. I'm like, wow, that's not bad for a defensive end. That's pretty good. But he's 6 foot, 200. He looks like a Big Ten running back and was just the nicest kid. It's always interesting talking to these kids when their mom is standing right next to them. And it's like, it didn't even seem like he was having to be on his best behavior. He was just very excited to be at Ohio State. Said they were the only school that just really brought him in and showed him everything. He's like, I even got to talk to Coach Day, and no other schools that have brought, like he's visited Miami, and they kind of tried to do a little bit of what Ohio State ended up doing, but like Ohio State blew him away. And this was a few days ago when I talked to him, I think Monday, this was maybe Monday's camp. And so I'm like, so, what do you think about Ohio State? And he's like, they're way, way, way up there. And he wanted to say more. You could tell, but he also didn't want to get caught up in it. And then, a few days later, it's like, did you get caught up in it by committing? But when you see something you like, and the other thing that he talked about, Tom, is he said his priority is his faith. And then we all watched Ohio State being so professing their faith so publicly last year, and not just last year, but that's part of the program. And so he watched, Travion Henderson, and he saw how that, just the whole operation at Ohio State. And that was one of the things that really stuck with him. So overall, it's a long way to go, but it was clearly both parties were enamored with each other.
Yeah. And that's, this is just wrapped up your freshman year. So you do have a long way to go. And, what you want when you're wrapping up your ninth grade year might not be what you want 3 years from now. And who knows, coaching staff, there's no guarantee that everyone who's on the Ohio State coaching staff now is on the Ohio State coaching staff then, and all that kind of stuff. There's a long way to go. But, if you're in this position where you have impressed someone enough that you are not just way, way, way ahead, but now, you're done. We'll see, are there more visits, or are the visits done? That's one of the questions. Are there more camps, or are the camps done other than Ohio State? That's all the stuff that, we'll see. Everything that's 3 years out is a little bit written in the sand to a certain degree, but, nonetheless, those stats are incredible. Not only 15 sacks and 800 yards rushing. If that was a senior, that would be impressive. To do that as a freshman is remarkable. And this is not someone who's doing this in South Dakota or Vermont or something like that. This is someone who's doing this in Florida, where they play pretty significant football. That is a pretty big high school football state. So to do that there as a freshman, that tells me, I frankly, Tony, you can have the immediate question is, will he stick at Ohio State? If he's 6 foot tall and 200 pounds now as a ninth grader, how much more is he going to grow? Is he going to stick as a running back? Is he going to turn into a pass rusher? You could see him switching sides of the ball, switching positions. He could turn into a tight end. Who knows? You got 3 more years. It feels like all of this is kind of, that's great. Sounds like a fantastic pickup. Let's see where this, as he continues to grow and develop, where does the next 3 years lead him, just, personally, in terms of his physical development?
Well, Tom, let me give you a long answer as to that topic. I was trying to doing some research on him and reading some newspaper clippings online. So I guess there wouldn't be actually clippings, but one of his best days rushing was like 167 yards last year. So I went to the Huddle highlights of that game, and like over 100 of those yards came while he was also their punter. They came from, so I know he's not Australian. All right, I understand that he is not Australian. I'm saying there might be a future with the punting. However, what I will say is the first one is like he's lined up as a punter, and then he just takes off running with it for like 60-yard touchdown. The second one is he gets the punt blocked. There's a scrum and a melee, and the defensive team picks it up, and then he forces the fumble on that. The ball hits the ground. One of Hall's teammates picks it up, and as he's falling to the ground, he pitches it to Hall, who then goes like 70 yards for the touchdown. So you can't draw that up. I get that. I'm just saying, Jesse Mirko, eat your heart out.
That's incredible. So he's a defensive end. He's a running back, but he knows the Maurice Clarett strip the ball play, but he also knows the Ed Reed take the pitch and run for a touchdown. So he's basically a combination. I don't want to oversell this, but if I'm understanding you correctly, it's a combination of Maurice Clarett, Ed Reed, and possibly Reggie Roby and or Ray Guy.
I think that's accurate. I think that is accurate. We will know more in 4 years or so. And if he, does end up at Ohio State, the second game of his career will be at Alabama. So that is the Crimson Tide on the schedule, as you said. So there you go. Ohio State's first commit for the 2028 class, Elijah Newman-Hall from Florida, from Tampa Blake High School. I guess I don't even know if we even mentioned that, but yes, a Florida running back. If you would like to, go ahead and hit the thumbs up on this. If you're watching on YouTube, we would appreciate that. 5-star rating, interviews on your podcast platform of choice, always welcome. And of course, the absolute best way to support what we do is to find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Sign up, become a member, say hello to us there. The message board is booming right now, talking about camps, official visits. There are commitments hopping right now for the Buckeyes, as you guys may or may not be aware. And if you're not aware, come join us, and you will be. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys later.